What is up, everybody? Just waiting for a few people to get in here. Just wanted to go over a couple things that I noticed in some conversation that I've had. So, just waiting to see if somebody comes in. Just never know who's gonna pop up. I know most of my daylight drivers should be about ready to get done driving. Damn, did I set this up right? I don't know if I went live or not. Oh, alright. I guess we did do it right. What's up, O'Brien and Sons? David Boyd, what's up? Alright, I just never know if I did this shit right or not. Experience, what's up? Andrea, I was just about to send you a text, but I figure you'd be right on it. Truck and Journey Chronicles, what's up? Sean 524, what's up? Just want to talk about a couple conversations I had. I think people trying to be a little too cute, and not just conversations, just stuff that I've noticed in general, whether it be listening to people, that I speak with, or what has been mentioned in some of these Facebook groups. But before I get to that, let me go ahead and pick this hair out. Now, my hair is getting a little too long for my free pick here almost, so let me get this working right quick. Woo! Yes, sir. Alright, so we're almost there before we can get on topic. Yeah, these free picks right here, that's how lean I'm trying to run things right now. Every time I turn around, I'm coming up with different ways to spend some money, let me tell you. Let me tell you, my God, I have been just taking an absolute beating lately. But like I said, all I got to do is look to December. That's all I got to do is kind of keep looking forward. You don't need to buy me a pick, because listen, this shit, I need to cut this stuff down. Unfortunately, that's another thing. I have to apologize for my wife. I don't know how many times I had to tell her, listen, I gotta get shit back on track right now, because every time I think things are going fine, some other shit's coming up that's jacking up my plans. So, all right. So anyway, right now I am in Kenosha, Wisconsin. It is what is billed as the largest quick trip out there. We are on I-94 exit 340. So those of you guys might be familiar, that's a nice little quick trip over there. Quick Trip with a K. Now, Quick Trip with a Q is pretty good, but Quick Trip with a K, that's the bomb right there. I'm picking up in Appleton, Wisconsin. And that load doesn't necessarily pick up till Sunday. Now, a couple reasons I went ahead and still thought this was a good load. It's a light load, if it is what it says it is, 19,000 pounds, but who knows? I've picked up those loads before where it was supposed to be light, and I ended up hauling 45,000 pounds up and down the mountains of Virginia. But as of right now, damn, what is my title? Hey, Captain Trucker, can you tell me what my title was in this video? I forgot. Try not to be cute. I think that was it. Okay, so that's why I took it. Not necessarily the best place where I'm going, but South Carolina once I'm done with this. So anyway, had to get the truck in the shop for had to get into Manuka, slide in there. I had to do a little bit of a deadhead to get some work done. The other day when I was driving, right before I dropped, 12 hours before I was supposed to drop off the other day, my blinker went out. You know, you get that real quick blinker, like, you know, where it blinks real quick. So I knew my blinker was out. Got where I was going to park, confirmed that the blinker was out. So I was like, all right, I'll deal with this in the morning. And got out there in the morning, changed out the blinker light, still was messed up. So I was like, maybe it's one of these other two bulbs that kind of are along those lines. Replace those. Shit still was messed up. Then I started getting the low beam fault code. So I replaced that. Still happened. So I was like, man, it could be a wire, it could be like a relay switch, it could be like some goddamn, what do you call them things? The damn, I don't know what's wrong with me. But anyway, I was like, you know what, this is a little bit deeper than what I can handle. Let me just go ahead and deadhead about 150 miles to Manuka and get it done there. So what ended up happening was, it wasn't any fuses, which I thought it might have been, but I didn't want to get in there pulling shit out and doing all that. But it ended up being some wires and stuff that were rubbing, that had rubbed through. So I would never have been able to diagnose and do that myself. So that got done. That got done out there. So anyway, that's what I was doing this morning. So that got fixed, and here I am. So as far as all this outsmarting yourself kind of deal is, let me catch up on these comments real quick. But I talked to some people, and then I've just seen it kind of on my own. But I think that a lot of people try to get a little too cute with this shit. And a lot of times it's because they think this job is a fucking adventure or some shit like that, where they feel like it's all about them getting out, doing a bunch of shit. And you know what? If you're able to manage that, that's one thing. But I just spoke to somebody that had to get a repower on a load that... Here's what happens. So they get a load, and there's a pickup window on it, right? Now, first thing I'm going to tell you this. I don't care how good of a trip planner you are, there is no trip plan out there that beats a motherfucker that runs his ass off, okay? There is no trip plan that's going to that's going to be better than somebody that says, I got a load, let me hit it, let me get out wherever I'm going as soon as possible and do all that. It's never going to happen. But this guy was going to be near his house and all this kind of shit. Pickup had a window on it. Never thought to, count out the hours or anything like that. So, for example, and I'm doing this from memory, but let's say the pickup window was you had from Saturday morning at 8 a.m. to Sunday morning at 12 p.m. or whatever. So this particular person looked at the load and said, well, Jesus, I'm close to home. Let me stop through there and I'll be able to, hang out at home and then get out to the pickup at the end of the window. Never realizing that what that window was they were expecting you to get there, do a 10, then pick up the load, and then you would have hours to get out where you were going to be going. What ended up happening was, instead of getting there when they could have got there, they wasted 3.5 hours getting to the load. Then when they got the load, they didn't have the hours to get there because they had to burn 3 or 4 hours to get there, which weren't accounted for. So sometimes I think people try to get a little too cute and try to, take all this little time off or do whatever, and don't realize what it's going to be like on the back end of this. So now you're either asking for sales or dispatch to reset an appointment for you just because you didn't get out to your pickup on time, take the 10-hour break, pick it up, and do it like that. You wanted to get cute and take all this time off. So, always a firm believer in just picking up, getting where you need to get and trying to, stop being cute and trying to do all that stuff. And getting all the, there's plenty of time out here to take time off. In the middle of a load, unless you've calculated it out, I don't see it. All right, so anyway. Well, you're not hating on people who have fun with their job. I hear you, though. Listen, this is a fucking job. And like I said, I really don't necessarily find this job all that much fun. Or I don't necessarily like driving, so it makes it all about business to me. And in this particular case, people that try to make this shit fun and try to do all that shit, that's what got in the middle of this load. I've said it numerous times. My wife can attest to this. I've been in Denver, Colorado, and haven't slid through the house because I'm trying. That's how serious I am about this shit. And I'm not trying to jeopardize being on time or doing whatever because of some shit I personally want to do. Now, sometimes that might be a little bit extreme, but it is what it is. I just see too many times. I've talked about it. I've seen it where it's just, and you never know what's going to happen. You could still have time on the back of that load and still potentially get the load there on time, but you don't know about anything about traffic. You don't know anything. There's a bunch of stuff that can happen when you start trying to find that, when you're doing anything other than maximizing every mile that you can get on the way somewhere. All right, let's see. En route, I make sure there's time to exercise, run, weight, stretch, gym. I use the sun tanning booth. You know what? As long as you're there on time, and you know what? Here's another thing I'll say. And hey, I appreciate all that. I am one of them people that says being on time is not enough. Whether it's being on time for the pickup or being on time for the delivery. That is not enough to really maximize everything that you need to be doing. You could be on time to a receiver, but if you've ran that little bullshit 8.5, I'm gonna run 8.5 hours and I'll always have a clock and all this shit, but then you end up showing up at a receiver, with 4 hours on your clock instead of 10 hours on your clock. There's a big difference right there. So you know what? Technically you were on time, but it's been some bullshit. You ain't getting the same quality of loads potentially as you would have had if you would have dropped off with 10 hours on your clock. All right, I wonder why people are losing places. O'Brien and Sons, here's what I'm going to tell you. I went and picked up at Schreiber Foods in Carthage, Missouri the other day. I have never seen, first of all, I don't see CFI trucks barely around anyway. But that potential shipper had probably 90% CFI trailers there. I had never seen them in there. If anything, I used to see primarily prime trucks there. Maybe that's one of the reasons. I don't know. But that was, hold on a second. I can see. But maybe that's the place we lost. I don't know. If you're on time, you're late. I agree with that too. You could ask my son that. I do not bullshit around with time. I can assure you that is one thing I do not play around with at all, is time. And again, like I said, I don't like driving, so it's all business. I'm not trying to, do... Anyway, some people can make it work. I just can't do it. First of all, I don't remain focused if I do it. And I just think it leaves too much room for... it just leaves too much room for mistakes. Like, I don't know if Prime looks at it like this or dispatchers look at it like this, but if I have somebody, let's say I had a driver and I was a dispatcher and they had a load that was picking up in California and it was going to, like, let's say North Carolina or some shit like that. If there was any time out there that they did not pick up that, they did not start driving immediately when their break was over and they got somewhere and were late because of traffic or whatever the situation might be, I'd have a problem with it. O'Brien's son said, I get a message every other day about drivers being late on loads. I get it too, and if I don't get it, I get it from other people on other people's fleet, which is usually what happens about people being late. Colby Curtis is getting his CDL through Swift. There's nothing wrong with Swift. I think, I thought about going to Swift and I thought about going to Knight. Knight was pretty much going to be who I was going to go through.
Attention, a new important message has arrived.
They didn't have everything locked down the way I thought it was going to be. It was like if you went here, if you go here, it's like this, or if you go there, it's like this. It just wasn't. It wasn't. As a matter of fact, I was supposed to go tonight, but they were just a little too unorganized. And I think the thing that took me over the edge was I live in Colorado, right? So they're like, hey, at Night Transportation, we have this open house. We're going to be barbecuing and all this stuff. Come on out to the terminal, which is by that Flying J in Colorado, or in Aurora, Colorado, off of I-70 and I think I forget what exit it is. But I went out there and none of that shit was happening. And they were like, come on in and talk to this person. They had no idea what was supposed to be going on. I was like, I'm done with that. So that's what really got me to Prime. It wasn't that I thought Prime was all that great. All right, let's see. The biggest problem I have with third-party driving is that the truck driver never calls us before they show up. So they're mad when they have to stay overnight. I can see that. I used to be a driver for Prime. They said they'd hire me back, but want me out for 6 weeks and 2 or 3 days back. You know what? I talked to a driver that was in Florida. They lived in Florida. And this is what I thought was jacked up. And who knows? This is just what I heard. They had something happen medically that happened to them. So they had to take all this time off. Came back to reapply and were denied because they lived in Florida. I thought that was a little fucked up. My trainer got annoyed with me because of my workout regimen. You know what? Maybe you got to find somebody along those same lines, but I don't care what anybody does, but I'll tell you what is going to happen. We're going to get out where we're going to get out. So that I wouldn't get upset about any workout regimen as long as they knew, and this truck is rolling until we get where we're going. That's all it is. I really don't care about all that. But when we get where we're getting, then you can go ahead and do what you got to do. But this truck ain't stopping until we get out to the 90, or at least within 60 miles of it. So I might have had a problem with that. I don't know. Tell all these people that don't speak English are getting these truck driving jobs. I really don't see that. Personally, I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but I haven't seen that. And then again, I don't know. That's just something that I try to concern myself with shit that really affects me or that I can affect, and that doesn't really do either of those. So I don't really concern myself with a lot of that. Yeah, I don't necessarily see that, but I'm not out there trying to talk to a bunch of motherfuckers and see what their acumen is to the English language. I live in Florida. I found another company with better home time. However, I want to save up for my own truck, buy cash, and come back to Prime. Alright, that makes sense. Once at a receiver, I left the truck with the trainer in it and went to the 24-hour fitness in Las Vegas. He reported me And the supervisor called me. You know what? I don't care what anybody does if they're on my truck as a trainee, as long as when I say this truck is ready to roll, they are back when it's ready to roll. I do not play that coming back whenever you want. And you know what? I never had to worry about that. And I never would expect to worry about that. Like I said, I probably gave some bad advice to one of the drivers who was driving my truck that had a trainee, and that trainee didn't show up on time, because what I told my driver was I'd leave. So I don't, and that was probably not the right advice, but I do not fuck around with time. I do not play with that whatsoever. I almost don't even care what the excuse is if I haven't got any heads up on it. Alright, I was hesitant to get back on the Walmart dedicated routes, but so far I can't complain. One load a day, home Saturday. I heard those Walmart dedicated loads are great. What is your opinion on big-headed people, like actually people with big-ass heads? My son has a big-ass head, so I guess I gotta love him. And he has a big-ass head. You'll probably see him when I go home and get on the live out there. Let's see. Yeah, I know a few people on that Walmart dedicated at Prime in California. And actually, they almost said it was almost hard to run that legally, to be honest with you. How are the rates right now? I remember my average rate was $2.50 a mile. I really don't look at it that damn close, but my issue has never been the rates for my trucks, anything like that. It's been a lot of self-inflicted wounds, more than the rates and stuff like that, than almost anything. Or, you know, things happening at the same time. So it could be, this is no shot or anything like that, but if you're gonna have multiple trucks, you're gonna be basically paying for a lot of stuff that happens. So whether it could be somebody needing, just put it this way, if that truck's not rolling, anything that happens outside of that, you're basically offsetting some of that money for. So a lot of it's more than the rates. If everything could just run and stay running, then the rates aren't the problem. What happens is, whether it be personal issues or maintenance issues, it seems like all those things hit at one time. So those are pretty hard to come back from when they, all start happening at the same time. Yeah, like I said, if I say we're leaving at such and such a time, Captain Trucker, I don't care what you do. But we will have a problem if I'm saying we're going to be leaving and you're not there. I mean, that would be a serious problem. All right, what's up, WE Nation from New Mexico? It's been a long time since I've gone through New Mexico. Like I said, my load is going down to South Carolina, so it's probably going to be a long time till I make it back out there. What if you're ready to roll and your trainee is taking a dump? Would you wait, or would you give him shit? I would give him shit. And as a matter of fact, he's probably not going to be in this live, but I forgot what his new name is, but I had a trainee that was on my truck named Eric, and I got on him pretty big when it was like, let's go take showers. I want to be ready to go in 30 minutes. And, it might have been 35 minutes, but, I kind of got on him about that. It wasn't that serious, but, when I say it wasn't that serious, it was kind of serious. But that's how I am. It's the cross I bear. You know what I mean? Let's see. I've had a few people ask me to be a trainer, and I've thought about it real hard, and I'm just like, man, I'm not sure I could do it anymore. And not because I don't want to train. It's just like, I don't want to train in this truck that has the most miles on it and then have something go wrong with that. I can't be 100%. I think that my fleet manager would keep me rolling, but I've just heard too many disaster stories about trainers out there making less than their trainees, and it's just a little much for me. And then you start thinking about the training, and then it's like, okay, well, you really can't have conversations and shit because you got other motherfuckers in the truck. And I just feel tired even talking about training. And there were always loads I didn't like. I don't like the Northwest, and I don't like the Northeast. I'll do it, but every time I turned around, I was like in Oregon, Washington, Northern California. I was out in Maine, New Jersey, New York, Connecticut. So that's another reason I don't really like training. I was everywhere I did not want to be. All right, I'm just curious, are most drivers, LLC or S Corp? I'm not seeing anything major except I think the smarter people are doing S Corps. I'm not that smart, so I just do LLC. If you look at Tim Travel's channel, he did a video about that. So if you just were to go into YouTube and then like search Tim Travels S Corp versus LLC, that video might come up. But one of the advantages to having an S Corp, like he mentioned when his contract was up at Prime, he could always file for unemployment. So that's a good thing right there. It's just too much shit for me to really... I just can't deal with all the headaches that would go along with that. Now, you pay less in taxes, but listen, I don't have a problem necessarily paying my fair share of taxes. All right. Yep, got to meet deadlines, all that. Okay, sleeping in a bunk with a grown man, ordering him what to do was not my cup of tea. You know what? I can kind of agree with that, but if I'm going to be training somebody or being trained by somebody, that's just the lot that I've been given, so I got to do that shit. What's up, Gadsden, Alabama? What's up, Craig? O'Brien and Sons. I'm going to be in Charleston, South Carolina myself, from Shelbyville and Tyson. Not bad for short miles. I like that type of run. You know what? I kind of like those runs. Also, I heard from a former Prime trainer that the trainer pays the trainee out of their revenue. No extra pay. That's correct. And in general, I don't necessarily have a problem with that. What I have a problem with is you trying to keep trainees on trainers' trucks because you need team loads, but the revenue's not there. And then when a trainee does something stupid like put fuel in a DEF tank or DEF in a fuel tank, now you ain't absorbing none of the accountability for that and picking up none of the cost for that. I got a problem with that. Now, you could say that's a trainer problem, potentially, but just being able to have zero accountability for, like, Prime assumes none of the responsibility for the trainee getting trained. So that's kind of a hard one to absorb. If anything goes wrong. And I've known a trainer who had a trainee fuck some shit up, so the trainer had to pay for that shit, right? So the trainer had to, and actually this is two. One of them was, all right, so this happened twice. So they had to put the truck in the shop. So had to continue paying the trainee while the truck's in the shop, which is fine if it's like it was 3 years ago, you know what I mean? But then the trainer got a room for the trainee, or no, the trainer got a hotel room that both the trainer and the trainee were gonna sleep in, and the trainee got pissed off that he didn't get his own room. Come on now. All right. A shoestring trucker. I train for FedEx Freight. Just hit 27 years. I like it better without a trainee. I can't say I necessarily like it, or there's a lot of benefits to having a trainee. Obviously, I do like knowing that I'm at least past, paying it forward. So I do like that aspect of it. I've had the best trainees also I mean, I've never had a student that had a critical event. Never had anybody. I think maybe, once I kind of said what I'm hyper focused on or whatever, I'm not waking you up to go do your drive shift. When we switch, I tell a driver, set your alarm for this time. This is when you're gonna drive. I've maybe once had to wake somebody up, but I've been lucky in regards to that. The problem is I've never felt like I was well rested when I was a trainer. So that's a lot of... when I think about training, I think about being tired 100% of the time. All right, let's see. I run Mississippi to upstate New York. I love it. I love upstate New York. But one thing I will tell you is some of them towns in upstate New York, I forget the name of, like a couple I've gone to, those towns are like surprisingly tight in some of those towns up there. What's the average time frame to get 50,000 miles done? That's hard for me to say, because when I was training, I could look at 5,500, 6,000 miles a week being an average. So if you take that math, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, you're looking at 10 weeks or 2.5 months. I don't know if the freight's supporting that right now. Or not 10.5 months, 10.5 weeks. So yeah, 2.5 months. I don't know if that's happening right now. O'Brien Sons, how do you put DEF in a fuel tank? I don't know how you do that either. So there's a lot of, and like I've mentioned in one of my previous videos, I had I had somebody that was driving my truck that was training a student, and the student got 50 or however many miles it was supposed to be. And once this girl got the miles, she was like, they got dispatched on a load, a FedEx load, and this girl was trying to like refuse to drive the load unless she got paid extra on it. So I don't know what happened with that. I told everybody that was involved in that I didn't give a fuck if it was paying $10,000 for 40 miles. I wasn't gonna, just out of principle alone, I wasn't gonna do that shit. So the load ended up getting done. I don't know if there was some side deal cut by somebody else, but I wasn't doing that shit. But I think a lot of people get out here and they're like, I got all this time on this load, let me just hang out or go do this or go do that or wait to pick up the load. And then they get on the back end of that shit, and all of a sudden, oh, I don't have enough hours because, you know what, I didn't realize that even though they said I could be here at this time to pick up this load, that they were expecting me to have a full clock when I drove out on it. So just found a small coolant leak on my 2024 Pete today. Should I go to Prime Shop or dealer first? Something like that you could probably just take to the Prime Shop. Typically I try to get everything done at a Prime Shop. A bullshit Prime Shop that I've learned to not like is Prime in Springfield. That dealership, outside of the fact that you can thug it out and sleep in your truck the whole time while you're parked out there before they get your truck in there, that place is like horrible. Well, hey, Jay Jr., so he says, yeah, I ran into that years ago when you pick up a load and they expect you to have a full clock. Yeah, it kind of does piss him off, and I totally get it. Listen, if you get dispatched... Oh, shit, my phone's getting hot. Let me turn on my... If you get dispatched on a load and it's a Friday and you have till Sunday morning to pick it up, you're 300 miles away, and you think that you want to chill out and not go out there and pick that load up, you should have been able to pick that load up with a full clock. The problem is you want to get too cute and chill out and have a bunch of fun. Hold on, I need to move this thing to get some air on it. You want to get too cute and go meet some people or do whatever. And then when you get out there, because you should have had a full clock, right? But now you don't have a full clock because you hung out and didn't get out to the shipper. Man, I don't know if anybody dropped off of this. My phone's too damn hot. Is there anybody still there? I don't know if anybody's still here or not, but my phone overheated and I had to let it cool down. Damn. All right, so anyway, that's some of the stuff that that's some of the stuff that can happen, right? And it's just the kind of stuff that it just would not happen to me. All right, let me go back on some of these comments. What's up, Kiersey? And I think, that might be a difference between me and a lot of people. Some people come out here because it's the adventure and they want to do that shit, man. To me, this shit's all the same. I ain't out here trying to, sightsee and go meet everybody and, do all this shit. It's just not my thing. And I still have, and like I said, another thing, a mistake I think people make, personally, run your shit how you want to run it. But that whole, I'm going to run 8.5 hours a day so I never run out of clock, that is the biggest fucking myth I've ever fucking heard of. And I tried doing that shit. I've tried it 2 different ways. I tried doing that when I didn't know any better. And then I remember what really made me realize that you're never going to run out of a clock, at least with my fleet manager, was I tried to run myself into a 34-hour reset one time because I was tired. I was like, okay, I'm going to run my clock all the way out every single day. And you know what ended up happening? Every time I turned around and thought I was low on hours, I could have 3 hours left on my 70, and I would get a load where I'd pick up 60 miles away and then drop off whenever, but I'd never run out of clock. And then by that time, all my big recaps are coming around. So that myth got, I'm not gonna lie, whenever I hear that shit, I just feel like it's a way for somebody to be lazy and have an excuse for that shit. Because the math does, I hate that little saying, but the math just ain't mathing. Because the load's gonna take as many hours as the load's gonna take to get there. Unless you were picking up every single load, going coast to coast to coast to coast, it doesn't matter. And even then, it's still gonna take the same amount of time. Listen, I run out my clock. If I got hours, I'm running them. Now, sometimes I won't. If I think parking might be an issue or something like that, that might be a reason why I don't. But I don't ever just be cutting a day short because I'm at 8.5 hours on my clock. If I got them, I'm going to run them. And I talked to my fleet manager. He said, I agree. If you got 4 hours on your clock, on your 70, I'm going to find some shit that matches that. But you got the actual logs department preaching this bullshit. Or as Tim Travels would say, if you run 8.5 hours a day, you'll never... Those of you guys that know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. Two little myths that I keep hearing. One is the 8.5 hour myth, and the one is the scale in every load myth. Now, I don't think there's a lot of people at Prime that do this, but I did see some shit in Facebook where somebody was like talking about they scale every load. And I was like, I'm not sure you could find a better way to waste money than trying to scale every load. That just does not make sense. And as dumb as it sounds, and as dumb as they made it sound in the little meeting when they said, if you're 34 on the front, you gotta be fine on the back, that's the way I look at it. I've like maybe scaled 7 loads in 5 years, maybe, because I trust my shit. And if I feel like I might be a little high, you know what, I'm willing to take that chance. Alright, yeah, Andrew, you gotta take care of my dogs. Like I said, I'm gonna try to scoot by there, even if it's just for a little bit, but I miss my wife, miss my dogs, you know. So I definitely gotta slide by the house soon, but one of the non-benefits of actually having more than one truck is you don't go home when you want to go home. You go home when you can go home. At least for the time being. So I didn't really catch this meeting this morning, just a little bit of it. I was out in Manuka getting my truck worked on. I got a chance to catch some of it. Misfit Flatbedder, what's up? Got a chance to catch a little bit of the meeting, but Cash is King Trucking. Definitely got royalty in the house right there. I'm up in your neighborhood right now, up at, not quite in your area, but I'm at the Quick Trip in Kenosha, Wisconsin, I-94 exit 340. I like to run out in that Minnesota, Wisconsin area, but I'm picking a load up in Appleton, headed down to South Carolina after this. And I tell you what, Cash is King. I get jealous of you talking about some of them numbers, because I'm like, man, now it might pay off in the future. Well, it will pay off in the future, starting in December. But when I look at somebody with one truck paid off doing their thing, I'm just like jealous of that shit, because I'm like looking at the numbers I could be making, and I'm looking at the numbers I'm making because I'm offsetting some of these other trucks. That's a motherfucker right there sometime. But December will be here soon enough. Get that next truck paid off, and then no matter how I slice that bread, I'll be good to go. But for those of you guys that just came in here, yesterday, or the day before yesterday, I had my blinker light go out, right? So I'm thinking no big deal, you know, all this stuff. Okay, I'm not even going to worry about tonight. Let me wake up in the morning and get my blinker light switched out. And I do that, blinker's still messed up. So I go drive down to Love's, get the other lights, the little blinker lights, replace all that shit. Still not working. Then I get a headlight fault code. So I'm like, okay, let me change out my headlights. So I got these HID headlights. I had some spares. Change that out, change everything out. Shit's still not working. So it ended up being like some wiring shit that got rubbed through or whatever. So some more shit I ended up paying for today. But I was driving, it was like the DOT blitz. I'm driving all the way from Michigan to Manuka, Illinois with no headlight, or one headlight. It was during the day, but one headlight, no blinker to get out there. Now that's not quite as bad as me driving on my wife's logs if I had a wife at Prime driving over her log, running past stop signs and going 84 miles an hour downhill. But it could have put me out of service, I'm assuming. The dude, do I have Sirius XM? I don't have Sirius XM. I got, what I do before I start my drive shift is I get like 7 hours worth of shit to watch or listen to. Podcasts, you know, YouTube channels, whatever, that I could just listen to. Do that, and then on my break I'll load up some more and do that. But the blitz is over, O'Brien. I think it's over, at least yesterday or today. So I don't listen to the radio. But some of the shit I've been listening to lately, some of this religious shit, like Jehovah's Witnesses, and like, I don't know what got me thinking about or listening to that shit, but people that like left the Jehovah's Witnesses and like Mormons and like Scientology, like, man, those guys be going wild. I've been listening to some of that shit lately, and some of the craziness that goes on with that. Warner, I don't know about, I've had Warner pass me, but I haven't had him pass me 86 miles an hour. Alright, Puerto Rico is in the box trying to figure out, let me turn this truck off real quick. Trying to figure out what it is that we're talking about. I don't know, most people in Puerto Rico can speak English. Downhill. In West Virginia, boy, you gotta have some nuts to be going down them hills in West Virginia that fast. Now, I'll let it rip a little bit, but I ain't going no 86 miles an hour down there. Well, I might have missed some of the stuff. I know that most people in here can speak English, but I didn't know who they were talking about. Let me move my phone back over here out of the sun again. I had the air conditioning on that. All right. BRB Trucking. So, you know, some of these Facebook groups, I just want to kind of speak about this because there's another question asked, is you have people saying, I'll get to the dude in a little bit, but you have people saying, if people are, you know, if you don't want to have the cameras, then just quit. And I don't think that people realize how many people are actually quitting over that shit. Now, I'm not saying I'm in the position to do that right now if I did or didn't want, you know, if I did or didn't want to. But I do know that it's costing me money. I can tell you that right now. 2 people I knew that were going to come to Prime that aren't coming to Prime over that right now. And then I know one person that was my referral that's leaving. It might be, actually it's 2 that I'm no longer going to get that quarter-cent a mile for. And then those are just people that directly affect me. But, you know, people are leaving over that. And we'll see how that plays out over the course of time, whether it was a smart move or not. But trying to call people out saying they don't have the balls to leave, I can tell you that there are people that have already there are people that did it before it even they even actually said it, really. All right, anyway, let's get back. Did they ever get a new Denver yard? They've had a Denver yard, but it's not a real yard. It's just like it's just pavement where you could park. And I actually had to pay $563 to get a truck towed off of that pavement when it froze out there and froze one of my trucks that I wasn't driving to the ground out there. Big 1400, blah blah blah. We need more terminals. Even just absolutely, we definitely need more terminals. And that's one thing. The terminals, I really don't care how nice Springfield is. I really don't care how nice Salt Lake City is, or Pittston, or whatever terminal, because those terminals ain't for us. Those terminals are for in-house staff. If you go in there You got people in the terminal playing all the old folks shit. They're out there playing pickleball in the gym. They're out there dropping kids off at like the daycare. They're out there eating more food than drivers. They're out there taking advantage of all the shit that terminals can provide, and drivers are just out there for not even enough time to take advantage of that stuff. So personally, yeah, I'd rather have less shit at terminals but more places to park. I agree. About the main benefits you have from some of these terminals is actually truck maintenance and things like that. What about the one that was talking? Okay, O'Brien was talking about the one in Atlanta. I don't know what's going on with that. As of right now, the place in McDonough is fine enough for me just to park it and, stage up in if I'm delivering south of Atlanta. Other than that, I might as well just stay at the Petro. So yeah, that's kind of... See if my phone's getting hot again. That's kind of that deal. But I think another problem with what they have at Prime is they don't necessarily talk, even in the app. People say, just look at the app. All these terminals ain't showing up in the app, and they ain't showing up as terminals. Even Manuka's not showing up as a terminal. It's showing up as a wash facility. I think there's a place in, forget, Indiana. I've been there a couple times. It's not on a natural route where you'd go there. But unless you're specifically looking for that, you wouldn't even find that place. Those that say they trip plan are full of crap. You can plan anything until the load is ready. Then that... I agree. Hey, Misfit Flat better. The best trip plan is to run your ass off. I don't care. Anybody tells me, I'm going to pick up here and I'm going to go take my 10-hour break at, this place. Do you know if you're going to get there early? If you're not even going to make it there? Whatever. Until I get my load to the 90, I'm running balls out. Unless there's a reason for me not to. Like, maybe I'm on the East Coast and it's like maybe coming up on 5 p.m. I might want to stop short and find a place to park or something like that. But typically, I'm running all out until I get where I'm going. JJR, you sold me on the mom and pop truck stops, and as soon as I got a bunch of them that I liked, I wound up on this Walmart dedicated Southern Cal that has me nothing near. Okay, man, I'm gonna tell you, them off-brand truck stops, those are the gig right there. And some people don't like them because they say that I don't know why people don't like them. One thing I will say is lessons not learned in blood are soon forgotten. One thing that you do by parking at some of those places is your likelihood of getting hit at a truck stop is reduced just by parking at a place like that. I've had almost every single one of my drivers, well, okay, not the two newest ones, get hit by somebody that, at a truck stop. And a lot of times those are truck stops that let me turn this air back on. A lot of times that shit wouldn't happen to me. Why? Because I wouldn't be at this little name brand truck stop where I have the opportunity to get hit. And you don't get trapped in them. I don't, it seems like if I stop at a place where I got to get up early in the morning, I got to worry about knocking on somebody's door if I don't find the perfect place to get out of in the morning. Hold on. And it's just a different experience. It's not the same shit over and over again. Tell me if you're having problems hearing me. I got the air on. How do you find the off-brand truck stops? Are they on Trucker Path? Or most of them are going to be on Trucker Path. These off-brand truck stops are going to show up on Trucker Path. And then I've had people ask me, how come you always say where you're at? Like I say, like today, I'm at the Quick Trip with the K on I-94 exit 340 in Wisconsin, or Kenosha, Wisconsin. I say that shit not because I tell people where I'm at, but because it ingrains it in my mind, so I don't always have to. It's like I store it in memory almost in a way. Or I just drive by and I'll look at it and I'll be like, hey, that's a nice place to park. But I mean, I've literally stopped at Quick Trips, which most people are gonna say without a doubt are better than Flying J or whatever. I parked at a Quick Trip that was right across the street from a Flying J that was fully packed, where people are like making their own spots and all that shit, and the Quick Trip across the street never got more than half full. That is insanity to me. All right, do I ever take I-68 to a... Hell no! I-68 is the worst highway. That is one of the worst highways I've ever been on. Anything to avoid I-68. That's like worse than 79. That's worse than almost anything. I-68, if you're talking about Maryland and all that, I hate that. I-68 is horrible. And as a matter of fact, I just went in this Quick Trip earlier today. Let's see. Quick Trip with a K. I got me a little salad right there. You know, and this isn't the little, bullshit salad you get at Flying J. I mean, this isn't the one I really wanted. This has iceberg lettuce, but still good. And then, bang! You get these little meals like that. Just something different, And then they had whole chickens in there that were all roasted up and everything, and they didn't have any fresh ones when I went in there. I would have got one, but they had some that were cold. All right. And I don't care what anybody says. I was at this Quick Trip in it's either Wisconsin or Minnesota, but it was kind of late at night, and I go in there and I didn't get anything that was in the heated rack because the lady was like in there like inspecting stuff and putting it on this cart. So I just buy whatever I buy, go back outside of the truck, and I watch this lady walk out with this. She's rolling this same cart out to the trash, and she just sets the shit in the trash can. Man, my ass was right out there. I got like $35 worth of free chicken wings out there. As soon as she went inside, I was lifting that shit right off the trash can. And it wasn't like it was all deep. It was like right on top, all organized. So I got like $27 worth of free wings, man. It was like Parmesan, or as I say, Parmesan. They had like some, barbecue. I was getting it in. Ain't nothing better than some free shit. Anyway, yeah. Romaine, what's up? No, hey, it was still in the box, man. It wasn't like it was still sealed and everything. I don't care what anybody says. I got no. Listen, I'm good enough to do whatever I got to do. The thing that keeps some people broke is they're afraid to do the shit like I be doing. So, hey, I'd rather same shit with a car. I'd rather drive a raggedy car and be able to say, you know what, I got $700,000 in equity in home shit right now. You know what? I'd rather have that than a fucking than a car I'm making payments on. I'm not afraid of getting the gutter. You know what I mean? Hey, you know what? It ain't that bad. No matter how gutter I am, still got $700,000 in equity on houses, got some stocks, 401ks, all that shit. So, I'm still good to go. And I know that there's plenty of people out there that say they wouldn't do that shit, that ain't got a dollar to their name, but have a bunch of loans out and, payments on cars and shit. So, hey, I'm willing to do that. I ain't got no problem with it. because I'd rather have money than look like I got some money. All right, let's see. The Trucking Park Club app is some bullshit right there too, okay? BRB Trucking, and here's why I say it. Not that it's not useful, but that app is turning places that used to be free parking into paid parking. There were some off-brand truck stops I used to stop at that now are part of that bullshit, and it really is pissing me off. So I understand, you know, if you need it, but some of that stuff is bullshit. Ben, Quick Trip Squad, what's up? Yeah, them mom and pop truck stops. That's what I'm talking about. All right, damn Prime. Okay, we're going back to this, but I got to re-say this again. Damn Prime, down so bad. Their drivers are dumpster diving at Pilot. First of all, it's not Pilot. It was Quick Trip with a K, and it was the same shit that was right on the shit inside the truck. I ain't got a problem with it. Like I said. All right. Romaine. Okay, Montana. Hey, Romaine. Hey, whether it's a fork, a pick, or whatever, I saw that nappy ass hair you're rolling out there with. You need a pick, a fork, or something to go ahead and cut that, you know, go ahead and get that hair knocked out. As a matter of fact. Because, yeah, you looking a little wild out there. JJR, yeah, people with money don't spend money like the majority of people. Absolutely. Cameron, how's the freight market? I think I haven't had a problem with the freight market until recently, where I've seen it hit all my trucks at one time, and pretty much consistently this truck is gonna put in that work. That's one thing I could say. Can't speak about everything else might be hit or miss. This truck hasn't had a problem. That's one thing I will say. So if I'm gonna look at it as a whole, I could say that I haven't really seen a major dip in that. But even as far as that goes, one thing I can say, even though if I look at it as a whole, none of my trucks are really, like, I would say, are having problems. I could say that this truck here is putting in that work. That's what I can say. Slime Pack, what's up? Shamarcus, what's up? Clayton Taco Truck Lover, what's up? O'Brien Sons is talking about me getting them free chicken wings that were in the box that were on top of that dumpster. Hey, matter of fact, I might go looking for that shit later on tonight, to be honest with you. I got my CDL at Prime in 22, and the tanker was a nightmare thinking of coming back. Technically, I think Prime is a great company. I think that their messaging has been a little bit off lately. I think they could have approached things a little bit different, which I've said previously. But, you know, it's like, sometimes it's not what you say, it's how you say it, and I think that their messaging could have been a little bit better. But I think technically, cameras or not, it's a good company. It's just, are you going to deal with that shit more than anything? Taco Truck Lover, when am I going to volunteer for a camera? Here's a funny conversation. I don't remember if I had this conversation in my last video or not. But I was down talking to my fleet manager, talking about cameras and shit, right? Or I think he was joking around. So you ready to get that camera in your truck or something like that? Or no, I brought it up. And I was like, because I brought up Tim Travel's video is what I did. Because I was like, I went in there and I was just kind of clowning a little bit, you know, and I was like, so did you see Tim Travels? Or do you see, you know, whatever his last video? And he's like, no, he put out a new video. And I was like, yeah. So we were talking about it a little bit. I was kind of clowning a little bit. And he's like, one of the guys sitting next to my fleet manager, who was not part of this conversation, wanted to get in there and run his mouth a little bit. Well, I don't know why you drivers are worried about having cameras. We've had cameras on us for 9 years. And that's when I was like, you know what? I didn't say what I wanted to say because, you know, professional and all that kind of stuff. What I wanted to say was, first of all, you need to shut your damn mouth. This ain't none of your business. That's what I wanted to say. But what I said was, these cameras in this building ain't like the cameras sitting right in your face. And I think we spoke about this. There's software that we could put on those fleet managers or, you know, salespeople or anybody in-house that could, like, basically improve their proficiency. Tracking what websites they visit, all this kind of stuff. If they deviate from anything business-wise, all that kind of stuff. And you can incorporate the AI, like, you know, if they're on their phone, you know, to alert them that they need to get back to task or whatever. We could do all that. So he wanted to get in and start talking about how it wasn't a big deal. So I threw that on him, and that kind of shut him up a bit. And so we could all take part in all this camera shit. But nobody wants to do that when it affects them. Got 60 tanker trailers on order. Also 20 more trailers for bottom hopper. You know, I'd like to see what's going on with that bottom hopper deal. I'm making no money. Too many solo loads on a team truck. I've heard that, and I've heard that go the opposite way, where it's not. Damn, this phone is just getting too damn hot. I've heard it both ways, where people are having problems. But yeah, we could all be efficient at Prime. We could all have AI, you know, out here looking and seeing how efficient we are. And I know that they could do it because in 2005, I had a company trying to hit me and my mortgage company up, trying to sell some bullshit to us that was going to do that stuff. So 2005, 15, that's 20 years ago. And that was without the AI component. You throw that little camera on somebody's desk, as soon as they do anything besides answer a call, you know, dispatch a load, talk to a driver about some shit, that'll alert them that they're not on task. Hey, we could all get in this shit. It's just easier to put it all on the driver. Alright, I'm getting my CDL, and damn, that pre-trip is something else. The pre-trip's a lot easier than it used to be. It's easy. Just study that shit and it's good to go. Don't stress out about it. Too many people stress out about little shit when it comes to this. You know, but like, you know, the market is changing a little bit. I mean, I'm taking this load that I'm not picking this load up. Is hazmat worth it? Not for me. You don't have all that stuff, then you're just like, you know, a peasant, or, you know, whatever it is. Listen, it depends on how long you plan on being in this industry. If I was 25 years old, 30 years old, I'd get all that shit. I'd be doing hazmat, flatbed, you know, all that shit, because I would have a career arc that would support that. But at 55 years old, what the fuck am I trying to do within the next 7 years? I ain't gonna. To me, hazmat's a pain in the ass, and ain't paying enough for me to want to do it, especially in my career arc right now. And I don't need to make all the money. I just need to sustain. I mean, I need to make the money now because I'm supporting. You know, as of right now, I could be making more money, but hypothetically, all I'm trying to do is kind of live out these next few years until it's time for me to, you know, retire, semi-retire, whatever. So I'm not trying to make the most money And I want the least amount of headaches. So I think what young people don't realize is sometimes it's good to just make less money with less headaches. You know, making the most money isn't always the best thing. You know, which is why I left the mortgage business. It wasn't like, you know, if I put in the same amount of time in the mortgage business, I would probably be making, well, maybe not in this market, but in a typical market, I would be doubling my money up, or let's even just say making 50% more. But the more money you make in that business, the more headaches you got. I escaped because I didn't want the headaches. So it's the same reason why I don't want hazmat. I don't want to add layers on top of the bullshit I'm already dealing with. Big 1400. What if one of my drivers became a trainer? One of my drivers asked about that, and I don't want to stand in the way of somebody wanting to do that. But at that point, I would, you know, we had that conversation, and I put more of the burden on them. You know. So if you want to be a trainer, that's great, but you know, some of this stuff happens. You get to eat some of that too. Because there's a lot of, you know, think about this. Think about if I have a guy driving my truck that's training somebody. Let's say the truck needs to go in the shop. Now I'm paying two motherfuckers, right? I'm paying a hotel room, the bill for the truck, and the truck payment. That's a lot of responsibility. Alright, my friend took a student and had a couple of wreck incidents, whatever they were. He wrecked my friend's truck. They put trainee in another truck while he was in the hospital. Facts right there. Shamarcus says, definitely not worth it. Responsibility is all on you. And think about how much of a kick in the nuts that is. Even if you're not, you know, and I know Shamarcus had somebody that put death in the fuel tank or fuel in the death tank. He's one of those drivers I know that, you know, had that happen to him. And you know what happens? The person that did it, you know what? They might have felt stupid about it, but you know what? They didn't actually pay the cost for that. And like I mentioned, lessons not learned in blood are soon forgotten. So that driver probably didn't even think about putting DEF in the fuel tank or fuel in the DEF tank 24 hours later because he never paid for it. Oh, it makes me mad just thinking about it. I'm influenced to get a CDL at age 22. Should I go for the truck first or just start working on my CDL? Wait, I'm influenced to get a CDL at the end of 22. Should I go for the truck first? Or I'd worry about the CDL first. Cart before the horse. What's up, man? What should I be looking at when I apply for a trucking company as a recent CDL grad? As a recent CDL grad, you're almost going to be at the mercy of the trucking company. So it's almost which one would hire you. But I would probably stick with the major company, even though people are trying to be anti-mega carrier. Hold on, let me turn this off. Because there's more resources in doing that. All right, so let's see. Yeah, I'd be more worried about getting a job before I worry about what, you know, trucking companies do or don't have. As a matter of fact, it's actually harder to get a job at some of these trucking companies when you have your CDL than if they were to help you get your CDL. Okay, they pulled it. I ain't driving. I tell them if you won't drive, that means you're not available for dispatch. That means you don't qualify for the guaranteed pay. That straightens them up real quick. I don't even know what I would do if I had a trainee like not want to drive. That would put me in a very bad situation. because I really don't play like that. Ferry Wire is no longer there, but I do have 3 other drivers. And like I said, no matter how good those drivers are, there's always like going to be some little minor hiccups or major hiccups that they have. So there's no perfect driver out there. All right, hello from Green River, Utah. Loves. All right, hey, Myth Leather Company. That place right there. I don't know if there's somebody that lives out there that's out there pulling fifth wheels or whatever, like pins or whatever. 2 times I've been out there, I've seen people drop trailers. So check that pin before you pull out, especially at that place. Like I said, I've seen it happen twice. Have you seen any UFOs out on the road? I don't believe in UFOs, and I believe that there's other life in the universe, but just because of the way, as far away as some of these planets are that would be able to support life or whatever, I think it would take too long for any of those people to get, or things to get out here, unless they had some technology. Just the speed of light in itself would make it hard for any people to make it here. Even if there's a billion universes with a billion planets per universe, or over a billion, there's obviously more intelligent life out there. But would they be able to make it this far to where we are? I doubt it. So I haven't seen it, and I don't think I will ever see it, or it may not even, because if the universe is expanding, that means that if there is any other life forms out there, they're moving further away from us with every second that goes by. I am into all that universe shit too. So, all right, I'm currently working at this one company. They took a chili isn't driving a lot, and I feel like I need more experience. How much money are you making? I don't care if it's a class B, class A, class. If you're making enough money, I'd be happy with whatever you're doing, especially right now. Thoughts on shippers expanding in-house shipping, bypassing the carrier dependencies? I think that works for a while. I don't think it's sustainable. I don't even think Walmart would be able to pull that off, because there's just too much turnover. But I think in order for that to happen, they would have to pay their drivers so much money that would want to keep them there. I don't know. That's a good question. Myth Leather Company. I never seen any UFOs out there either, although I'm a solar power steering wheel holder. It's harder to see UFOs when you're out there driving by the daylight. But that's one thing, the universe and all that kind of shit. That's stuff that I'm really super interested in. Some of the shit that I listen to is like, how the universe started, quantum physics, all these different kind of things that I listen to. So that's definitely something I spend some time listening to. And I feel like if you're not learning something out here while you're driving 10 hours a day, then you're missing out on a lot. Especially, if you're younger. By the time you complete 4 years driving out here, you should have of some kind of a degree. Even if it's not like your typical college degree, you should have been able to absorb so much information just by listening to shit when you drive, that you should just have countless information that doesn't even matter in your brain at that point. All right, Zach, I'm gonna try to stay safe. Okay, pay isn't bad. $30 an hour. It's just union, and they're not giving me any guarantee 40 hours. So that's why I was thinking about moving to something OTR. OTR is like selling your soul to the devil, especially if you're younger, right? I think a lot of people that if you start OTR and you're younger, and I'm gonna say younger is in under like 30, you need to come out with a clear-cut goal with exactly how you plan on doing it with an escape plan. You don't want to get trapped out here and have this money or whatever. You don't want to buy a bunch of shit. You don't want to be trapped out here to where you're like, okay, I'd like to leave, but I can't make less than this amount of money. So if you're younger, under 30, you come out here, you need to be stacking this money away and having an escape plan to where you don't get trapped in this shit. One of the scariest things I saw, and I did a video about it, if you go back to like my old videos, like before I even came to, like on my way to Prime, Salt Lake City, I did a video on it, so you can go back and look at it. I stopped at the TA in, it might have been Fort Bridger, Wyoming. Taco Bell, I stopped there, and I decided to get the trucker experience. So I actually sit in the Taco Bell, just try to absorb it, right? And I see this old couple in there, and they had to be like 70, 50, 65, 70. And they had this 1,000-yard stare like it was fucking Vietnam or some shit. And that actually scared me because I was like, man, I do not want to be in this situation right here. And they could have made $1 million a year. They could have made $0 a year. I did not know that. But one thing I did know was I did not want to be at some fucking truck stop at 65 years old, blindly staring off into the distance like I was just in war for 30 days straight. That's what you don't want. So a plan out here is definitely what you need. All right, let's see. Zach K, how do I get internet in my truck for streaming TV? I don't know about that. I thug it out with the phone and some YouTube. I don't have no TVs or internet or nothing like that. I keep it to the basics. All right, but I need a guaranteed check every week. I'm 23 and just bought a house and thought about only doing a year just to get my experience. Plus, I wanted to go local. They're asking for 1 year driving. Hey, first of all, congratulations on buying that fucking house, especially at your age. That's the first step of acquiring wealth in your life. As a matter of fact, having real estate is the one that owning real estate has saved me more than once in my life. And it's at 23, think about this, and I don't know what market you're anything like that, but at 23 years old, by the time, let's say you were to hold on to that house or whatever, like the only property that I have left is a house, but besides the one I live in, is one that I bought in 2004. I sold one of my properties and paid that house off in like 2016. Just having that house paid off, if I don't do anything else, by the time I'm ready to retire, let's just say that house is worth $500,000 at that time. Let's even say $400,000. That right there is a pretty good chunk of change, even if I have no other retirement, which I do. But if that was all I had, right? Buying a house at 23 years old, that is an accomplishment, and that right there, if you like look at it as an investment, like one of the things I did and why I ended up having more than one property was because I always wasn't trying to buy something better. So when I had my first townhouse and it was time for me to buy something else, Rather than me selling that and buying something that was more fancy, I held on to that property, bought something that was about maybe a little bit better, but kept that other place. That's what allowed me. So I can't explain it. Good move. All I'm trying to say is good move. Do that shit right, and in the long run, property's never going to go wrong. Yeah, 2016 was a good year to buy some property. Actually 2012 was the best. That's when me and my wife bought a house, and then like we really like killed it on that one. And then we bought the house we lived in now, and that one, especially where it's at, that place is killing it right now too. You can never go. I mean, you can go wrong, but over time, that's probably the best investment that you could make. Better than crypto, better than stocks, because I'm not even going to talk about crypto. That is what it is. People are going to do what they're going to do with that. But stocks, one thing I like telling people is if you want to own $100,000 worth of stock or buy $100,000 worth of stock, you need $100,000 worth of money, right, to buy it. To leverage $100,000 in a house, you don't need $100,000 worth of money. So you're able to leverage a lot more in the housing market. Anyway, just don't be dumb and take out a HELOC and shit. Yeah, that's true too. Now you can take out a HELOC. There are certain times when it may make sense to do that. I'm not going to get too deep into that, but yeah, if you have an opportunity to pay it off, pay it off. And that's one thing I was mildly thinking about was paying off the house I'm in now, but that really, I tell you what not to invest in, because my plan was to be selling trucks every year, right? So pay off a truck, run it for 6 months, sell it, right? In a good market, that was a good plan. But you know what? Trucks ain't worth shit right now. So I basically got, shit. Who knows, the market's going to come back around. So I just got to run the dog shit out of it and get my money back out of it like that. Romaine the trucker says, I want to buy land and go into farming. Maybe have Prime come pick up a load for me. Hey, Romaine, there ain't nothing wrong with farming. I know some people in Iowa out there doing that farming. I'm 27, own a 22P, currently working on having a house built. That's good shit right there. All right, let's see. Well, I appreciate it. I'm definitely grateful, so that's what I'm focusing on. My career. What would you do if you were in my situation? I'm in Indiana, by the way. Man, this is not specific. What I do in any market or any time is be lean, okay? Like, don't owe a bunch of money on shit. Now, there are some exceptions, like I've mentioned before. If you watch this channel called Slime Pack 390, or Slime Pack, she has this Dodge Charger, Challenger, one of them two. If you own an asset that's making you money, that's about the only time because she's making, I don't know if she was able to build a channel based on that car, right? So, for example, and this is a dumb example, but I thought about, if I wanted to get out of this shit, let me go buy a motorhome, hire somebody to film us, do like the best videos, like ride along with us for like 6 months, do like a full year's worth of video, and then just drop it throughout the year. That money right there could potentially pay for the motorhome, right? But that's rare. In general, don't be out trying to buy all the best cars and have the credit cards. And, man, I know this shit because I burnt so much fucking money in my life that I'm trying to save people from it. And a lot of that was so long ago, but still, you're young and you want to be out there and pressing women. And, if women were smart, they wouldn't be falling for the dumb shit. They'd be like, you know what? Let me fall for the guy that looks like he ain't got shit, because he probably has shit, because he ain't financing shit. But these dumbass women out here think that somebody's got money when they have a $1,000 car payment, which is the dumbest shit you could possibly have. All right, anyway. Yeah, Myth Leather Trucking, talking about paying off his house, but the interest rate is 2.45. I wouldn't pay it off at 2.45 either, because there is good interest, there is a such thing as good debt, and at 2.45%, you'd be better off holding your money than actually paying it off or investing that money, because it's going to do better than 2.45%. I absolutely agree. Cars start losing value as soon as you buy them. And, RVs are even worse than that. But you look at some of these RV channels, man, you could buy an RV for, let's say 150, let's say it's worth 75. Man, these guys are putting up such numbers out there on these RV channels that it pays that. I mean, it's almost worth, taking that hit. If you're in that situation. All right, anyway. Now, I've never heard of this Earthship house design. Mary Undoer of Knots. I just ate an egg salad sandwich, so you will be farting here a little bit later on today, I'm sure. I don't have a car payment either. I paid off my 2011 F-150 Premium. Man, my cars are so old. I got let me see. I don't even know what year my cars are. I think I have a Dodge Ram, so it's a 4-door Hemi. This is the copper color Ram. I think it might be a 2009. I think it's a 2009. It's got 189,000 miles on it. I think my wife's truck is a 2014 BMW X5. And then I got a BMW that I don't even drive, and I'm probably going to have to spend some money on it. But I have a BMW, a 2003 BMW 540 with super low miles on it, but I haven't driven it in years, so to get that running, I'm probably going to have to spend some money just to get it. New hoses, get the engine rolled over and all this kind of stuff. But at some point I will get that car back on the road. But those are my cars. All of those shits are old, and I don't think about how cool I'm trying to look or anything like that. Alright, well, if I'm not looking for a relationship and I don't owe anything other than a mortgage, but renting the basement and basically covering 3/4 of my mortgage, and have $60K in credit, as long as you don't owe $60K in credit line. I mean, there's a reason to have debt. I don't think that necessarily not being one of the best things that I think you could do is have a wife, because you're spending less money, especially if you have one on the same page. Christopher Warmhoff. Earthship is a terrible name, but it's the coolest house I've ever seen in my entire life. I'll check that out. Start stacking cash. All right. Chino, local truck driving jobs. I think there's. Let me see how hot this damn phone. Yep, it's getting hot. I gotta start the truck. Gotta start the truck again. Some of these local jobs are good, but man, for somebody my age, trying to get out there and unload in some of these damn trucks, and to be honest with you, is it gonna be worth my time to work a local job, get off at 6 or 7 at night just to turn right back around and not even have a good night's, not even have enough time to do shit before I gotta turn around and get back to work? Now, if there are some local jobs. Like, for example, if I lived in Texas, I would probably be. Colorado does not have the best regional or local jobs. But if I was to live in Texas, that opens you up to a lot of, with not so much at Prime, but there are some shit in Prime where you just run Texas. That would probably be what I would want to do, is just run Texas if I was living out in Texas. So even if Prime had some shit that was like regional, well, they have Western 11. Who the fuck wants to run Western Regional in the winter? That's like insane. And the regional jobs that are out in Utah, going over 70, going down into New Mexico, there's like mountains no matter what direction you go. Why am I going to want to do that? Anyway, I'm about to get off here, unless there's some questions, because this phone keeps wanting to overheat. But shit, I do appreciate everybody stopping by here. Alright, no more quick topics. Anybody has anything like that? What's up? Dave, I don't know what you're saying there. What's up? Dave, I'm mistakenly you again. I don't get that one. I don't know what some of this stuff is. But I don't know if Romaine the trucker's still on here, but if everybody's in here, can you wish him good luck on the remainder of his 50,000 miles, because it's 50,000 miles. It ain't 4,999 miles. All right? You're putting in that full 50,000 miles, even if you got a good, even if you have a good personality and you're putting out all those good vibes and all that stuff. You're putting in that work, just so you know. You put in all 50,000, no matter how positive you are. Alright, I guess that's about the end of it. Okay, Dave Kinney, how's my new truck working out? You know what? The new truck seems to be good. Just with anything, man, it's you always got to deal with just regular maintenance, self-inflicted wounds, and whatever. So it's doing all right. You know what I mean? I'm not even gonna try to look. I'm trying not to like really worry about anything until December. I'm not gonna try to like really, for me to like sit here and look at settlement to settlement and assume everything's gonna be good is just gonna frustrate the fuck out of me. So I'm just gonna say, you know what? In December, when 2 of these trucks are paid off, no matter how I cut that shit, it's gonna be a relief. Whether it's I run all 4 trucks, or if somebody leaves, sell 2 trucks, pay off 1, and run 1. No matter how I cut it up, it's gonna be good. But trying to look at it settlement to settlement, it's it can be challenging sometimes. Let me just tell you. But technically, the truck is doing all right. All right, Zach, I'm up here in Wisconsin, Kenosha, Wisconsin, I-94 exit 340 at the Quick Trip with the K. Yeah, Crystal, hey, I'm not gonna, I may not be the most religious person in the world based on having to grow up totally immersed in that shit, but sometimes at this point it wouldn't hurt. But I'm not going to be blaming God on what's happened to me now. When shit turns around, everything's good. I'm not going to be giving no credit either. So that's kind of where I'm at on that one. See, okay, Zach, you don't... Okay, you see one of my trucks in Springfield all the time. I have 3 trucks that look exactly the same. So it could be one of 3 drivers that are up there. So I had a driver up there for a few days at Springfield, and then I was up there a totally different set of 3 days, and then other days it was the other driver. So just because you see that orange truck with the no hippie shit on it doesn't mean that it's like my actual truck. It could be one of 3 people, and then I have a purple truck that's like one other person. So state to state LLC, when am I going to the crib? Well, having multiple trucks is like being a father in a household. You know how they say, when are you gonna eat? Well, I eat when I can't eat, so I go home when I can go home. So that being said, that's when I'm gonna go home. So like I said, sometimes I've been really taking it in the ass lately, whether it be maintenance, like within the last 3 weeks, between all the truck maintenance. Let's just talk about every single one of the trucks. $4,000 worth of tires, APU service, the oil change, some other bullshit. Yeah, so you're just talking about all this shit right here, right? And then it could be just anything. So really, what I've been doing is covering these other trucks with this truck. Now, is it going to pay off in the long run? Yeah, a whole lot longer in the run than I thought it was going to be. So one thing I can tell you is it is not impossible for my drivers to get whatever they want to get in miles. Sometimes it's just not there, but a lot of times it's self-inflicted why they can't get, why one or whatever maybe not be able to get the miles, or different weeks or whatever. But as a whole, I would absolutely guarantee that my drivers are making more money, first of all, than me, and more than average lease drivers, because they're assuming none of the risk on it whatsoever. So is it worth having multiple trucks? Yeah, in the long run. Not right now, because if I looked at it short term, look, I have a truck that's paid off now. With the money that I make on this truck, we're talking about I'd be bringing home $3,500, $4,000 a week, right? No headaches, no nothing. And with that money, I wouldn't be driving. I'd be home like once every 3 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever, for a week or 10 days or whatever. Have I been able to do that? No, because I'm offsetting everybody else's stuff, and it could be family things, it could be pets, it could be whatever. I'm offsetting everybody else's time off or mistakes or whatever. It is what it is. Is it going to be worth it in the long run? Yeah, but not right now. And that's what I keep telling my wife, because I find myself apologizing to her for this shit. So in December, yes, it will really become worth it, no matter how I slice that. As of right now, no. Truck Money BG, when Lyle's hair is this long, home time is nowhere near. Absolutely. That's how you know how long it's been since I've been out. When I'm out here, you know, because my hair should never be this long. It's this long when I don't go home and have a chance to cut my shit back. So, yeah. So, yeah, it's been a while. I hate having long hair. I hate having all this shit up here. Man, if I didn't look 55 years old before, when you got all this gray hair coming out here, you know what I look like. If anybody's seen that movie Half Baked, I look like the drug dealer in Half Baked. The guy that was selling them all the drugs and shit. Man, I don't need a good barber. I haven't spent money at a barber since 1996. I just been cutting my hair on my own. And I am not getting no wicks. That's the dumbest looking shit in the world. Yeah, it could be time to bring back the barbecue channel. And I'm telling you, my wife has got to the point where she's like, you know what? Fuck this. Just wrap this shit up and then just we can start the barbecue channel, start making some money and do that. And I'm just like, all I got to do is get to December. Now, December doesn't mean that I'm going to be like, you know what? Fuck everybody that drives me and all that kind of stuff. Some people are going to be ready to go on their own in that time frame, potentially. I could run with everybody, but having 2 trucks paid off is going to allow some of these things that are catastrophic to not be catastrophic. Like, you know, if somebody takes a day off and that day off that, you know, is I'm just going to take a day off turns into 3.5 days off, then that's not going to be such of a big deal. But right now, those little things are a big deal. Like when you have when you have multiple trucks running, and sometimes it's worse having people take, like, it's better to have somebody take off like a week or whatever, or 4 days or whatever at one time, rather than, you know, one day here or whatever, because that one day always turns into 3 days, and it's like death by 1,000 cuts. So it's going to make everything easier from every standpoint. And I know some people are looking at, you know, some people are driving for me or looking to do things on their own, or, you know, whatever. I could, you know, it's just going to pin. No matter how you cut it, though, in December, everything's going to loosen up, no matter how I do it. So, do I have any team trucks? That is a liability right now. I'm not sure if I'd want no team trucks. I'm not sure Prime has a steady freight for team trucks. So, no, I don't have them. I got bottles of whiskey, you know, bourbon waiting for me when I get home. I had somebody send me a bottle of bourbon, and I can't wait to get to that shit. What's up, India? Alright, let's see. Christopher, man, I'm not trying to keep going on your live, but I'm on my 30 at the TA in Seymour. They just gave 3 or 4 of us free wings because of a large cancel order. Alright, so if you're at Prime and you go fill up at TA or Petro, if you get 60 gallons worth of fuel, you get an ultra credit. You can use that on parking, shower, or food. Those food credits are worth $17, right? So if I'm going to fill up, I'm going to get 60 gallons, shut it off, get 60 more gallons. That gives me 2 food credits, right? So, I was just up in Effingham. Went in there at midnight. I had to burn this credit because it was about to expire. Got this food at midnight. So I think it was like a pre-made Salisbury steak, mashed potatoes, whatever. So give her the thing, and she's like, okay, this is half price. What else do they have over there? I told her. She's like, just grab all the shit you want and take it with you. I'm like, bam, that's free shit. I'll take it every day. State to State LLC, I can't wait to get home and do that drunk live. Trust me. First of all, because I won't have my wife complaining about me being out here so long, and because I'll be able to get up on that bourbon I've been thinking about for the last... I've been out since like February, right? February. And I'm talking about running. I'm not talking about I'm stopping here or I'm stopping there, or I'm saying completely flat out running. Now I did take a week, or not a week, I did take some time off when I was in Springfield to get my physical and all that shit, because I had to put in that cardio to, you know, I just can't go get a physical raw dog. So I had to put in that cardio and do all that. So I was there a little bit of time, had a chance to relax, but outside of that, running since February 17th. And I'm not talking about driving since the February 17th. I'm talking about fucking running. Okay, why don't I appear in horizontal mode anymore? Because in a live, for some reason, they're suggesting it be vertical. So if I'm doing a regular video, it'll be the normal way. I need everything free. My check was $28 this week, says Truck Money BG. My check this week was minus $3,700 this week. So I'll take that $28. All right, I'm about to wrap this shit up. Come back here and relax. If you happen to be picking up in Appleton, Wisconsin on Sunday, you might see me. I'll probably be up there Saturday night sometime. Hey, I'd feel good too. And like I said, there's always been a reason, whether it could be time off, it could be maintenance, it could be whatever. But every time I've turned around, when you look at, you might be able to get a check, there's no reason why there ain't no check. And I'm talking about for a few weeks, so it's not as easy as it seems. It's very rare to get everything clicking when you have more than one truck. There's always something that comes up. Maintenance, time off, expected or unexpected, there's just gonna be something. JP, the only reason I don't complain and the only reason I don't feel tired when I'm out here running, because back when it was just me and one truck, I used to get tired. If I was out 5 weeks, I would be almost wore out. The problem is I can't afford to be wore out right now. I gotta do whatever I gotta do. I mean, the smartest thing I could do is go drive for somebody else that has a private fleet like mine and do that shit. That would be the smartest thing to do. So I can't afford to be tired. If I could have afforded to be tired, I'd have been tired in March. And that's not saying that anybody that drives me does anything individually wrong on a big scale. Sure, there's a bunch of shit that drivers are gonna do wrong anyway, but it could be just as small as when you're timing your day off, or when it's just like, hey, I got this time off after this load, I'm just planning on taking a day off, and that day off turns into 3 days off. Some of that's not necessarily anybody's fault. It is what it is, but it always falls down to me, you know. So those are the things that are hard to kind of deal with. So anyway, that's kind of, you know, and like I said, it's not always anybody doing anything wrong. It could be as simple as, for example, and I don't have the opportunity to do this shit, but let's say that I'm going somewhere and be like, I'm in this area, I'm gonna go take this time off to do this. All right, that day off turns into 3 days off, right? And then around that same time, another driver has to get tires on a truck, two drive tires, and then around that same time, somebody else has to get 2 steer tires at the same time. That's when you start compounding this stuff. So if the shit was all like, if it was spaced out, it wouldn't be that big of a deal. Because if a driver takes time off, usually they're going to be a little bit more refreshed and be able to, stay running or do whatever they're doing. So I've never really had a problem with that. But it's like when more than one person does multiple things at a time, or it could be one person taking time off now and then another one taking time off, let's say the next week, and then there's $5,000 worth of maintenance that's coming around this time. That shit just starts stacking up, and that's what is the hard thing to recover from in this, which is why I've stayed out longer. Because as soon as I'm like, okay, I'm catching up, or I caught up or whatever, then it's like, hey, I'm going to stop at the terminal and get this done, or I'm going to do this and get that done, or it's just like, then you're back behind again. So anyway, that's kind of that. And if we keep it real, there's been some self-inflicted wounds. I love my drivers, but sometimes it's, they do shit that, as a lease driver, they, since they're not, it all falls down to me. So there is some of that too. And I'd be lying if I didn't say that didn't happen sometime. Doesn't mean I love them any less, just means that, everybody's not perfect, but that imperfection costs money. On home time in Florida, that's good. I will be going home pretty soon. I'm almost to the point where I was like, you know what? There's been some money I really haven't wanted to fuck with. And I'm just like, you know what? Let me just bring that money to bear on this situation and just dump it on this and just be able to fully relax and not worry about any of this shit. But I'm really not trying to get into that money right now. I'm just trying to thug it out and make it through and then struggle to get back and then be happier for it in the long run. So anyway, that's that. About to come back here, chill out. I do appreciate you guys stopping by. Let's see. Okay, so Leah says dentist and vet visits completed. Family outing on Sunday, then back out. So, as a fleet owner, anytime that you... So, this is a good example. So, when you take time off, you do your dentist and do all that stuff, and then go to the vet and all that kind of stuff, that falls on you, right? So, if I have a driver that's doing that same shit, now all of a sudden I'm participating in their dental hygiene and their dogs and all that kind of stuff. So I get to partake in some of that stuff. So and that's a good thing to kind of that's also a good thing to think if you're just coming into this business and you're thinking about being a lease driver and you're gonna you're like, okay, because this happens a lot, right? I live in New York and I'm delivering a load in New York. Let me just take off this day in New York. That day is always more than a day. I don't care what the fuck you think. You could be like, I'm delivering at 11 o'clock in the morning and I'm going to be available. I'm going to take off 24 hours and be available in the morning. That shit never works like that. It's like you take off that day and they're available that next morning, and then you're not picking up a load till late that night or the next morning. So that day turns into 2 days. You're better off just taking time off and taking time off rather than this death by 1,000 cuts, like taking 2 days off or a day off here, 2 days off here. That shit is worse than just taking the time off and getting it out of the way. So because I've never seen an instance where it's like, even because when I actually could afford to be tired and be like, hey boss, I need a break. I know I delivered it, 9, 8 or 3 in the morning. Can I be available at 6 in the morning? I used to do that shit, and even when I say that shit, I'm available at 6 in the morning. My next load ain't picking up till 9 o'clock that night or sometime that next morning when still been available. My next load would have picked up at like a few hours later, some shit like that. So these little breaks are worse than just saying, okay, I'm gonna take off a week, 5 days, 4 days, whatever that is. All right, my man from India is asking, do I feel these electric trucks coming up in the near future will affect trucking? I feel many people are sitting. I don't think electric trucks are going to do shit. I don't think the infrastructure... First of all, listen, anybody that hates on electric anything, it's fucking stupid. Within the next 100 years, there ain't going to be no gas truck or gas cars, any of that shit. So all that fossil fuel shit's going to be out of the way, right? So why fight, that progress? Self-driving trucks might be a different story. Now, I think that's the environment. I don't know how much you missed. AP, I see the bigger your fleet, the more you work, the more anticipating things to go. Absolutely. Like, for example, let's say everything went perfect. Let's say that there was never no problems that drivers did that cost me any money whatsoever, whether it's like running shit over or doing anything that costs money, period, right? There's no issues with that. Even if that was the case, right? I just can't take off whenever I want to take off because there might be 2 other people that want to take off around the same time, or whether it's 2, 1, whatever, right? And in a perfect world, I've never seen all 4. The only truck I can consistently count on is my truck. I know what my truck's going to do. I know how much money it's going to make always, or what range I'm going to be in. Besides that, it could be, out of the 3 other trucks, I could have 2 of the 3, like, that have a good week, or I've never had all 4 trucks like clicking. There's always been a reason, whether again it's self-inflicted or it's like just the way the freight market is in any particular area. But I'm really at the mercy of like what's going on between all 4 trucks. And that's everything going perfect. All right, so self-driving trucks, that's not going to be that big of an issue. I can only speak about the amount of time I plan on being in truck, and I can't speculate what's going to happen after I've got out of this, but I'm not worried about self-driving trucks. And shit, these motherfuckers are trying to micromanage us so much. We're like self-driving. Like, we're almost autonomous the way they're trying to, get into our fucking business with all these fucking cameras and everybody trying to look at what the fuck you're doing and all this kind of shit. So, they won't need self-driving trucks. They can get us to toe the line with all this bullshit they're throwing on us. Let's get some cameras out there so we can make sure nobody, you don't need no self-driving truck. All right, I think we are just about done. I don't see no more questions coming through. Let me just make sure. How do I get my drivers? Most of them would have met me through on YouTube. But I'm not sure if I'm even looking at replacing drivers at this point. If anybody leaves, unless a driver was to fall into my lap, that I probably wouldn't be out trying to replace anybody, unless I had like a known commodity just fall out. Maybe I could ask about it, but I don't think I'd be looking to replace anybody at this point. Myth Leather Company, I absolutely agree with that. And I don't even want to get into that topic too much because it really pisses me off with these fucking cameras. But we wouldn't even have these cameras had they just been about their business to fucking begin with. The problem is, and I'm going to end this with this, the reason Prime isn't, you know what Prime is like? Prime is like that mother or that bad parent that lets their kid wild out in the fucking grocery store, and then all of a sudden they want to take the kid and whip the fuck out of him when all they had to do was fucking discipline him in the first place and not let that shit get out of hand. Prime let that shit get out of hand, and then they wanted to fucking step in and act like they're the fucking hardcore parent and overreact to a bunch of shit. Had they fucking like nipped this shit in the bud, we wouldn't be in this situation right now. But rather than do that, they wanted to play Mr. Nice Guy and not do shit until it got out of control. Now we're all here looking like some goddamn idiots. We got more people talking about shit at Prime than Prime on the internet. And that's how I'm going to end this. I think it's about the dumbest shit in the world. Act like you're a fucking good parent to begin with, and you don't got to overreact and be spanking your kid and acting all fucking outrageous in public. Alright, enough about that. I'm going to answer these few questions, then I'm going to be out. Are all your trucks Peterbilts? Don't have any Freightliner? I'd like to know how they compare fuel consumption and mechanically. All mine are Peterbilts, and that's just what I know. I don't know how to compare them to anything else. One thing I know is some of the time you're going to have to take them to Peterbilt dealerships. But when I was like adding these trucks, so first of all, I had the truck I was in, right? My first truck. So when I ordered the next truck, that was going to be my truck. So I was going to get a Peterbilt. So that's 2 Peterbilts. The next truck I ordered, I felt like I don't want to order. If I ordered a Freightliner and I've been driving Peterbilts, basically that's telling drivers I don't give a fuck about you. Like, you know what? I like driving. You know what? Like, how am I going to feel acting like I only want to drive Peterbilts and then telling some driver, you know what, you're beneath me, you got to drive this shit. So that's kind of how it went that way. It wasn't that I don't like Freightliners. It's like I can't be like I'm all about Peterbilt and then now it's time for me to have somebody else drive a truck and I throw them in a truck that, you know what I mean? It's kind of like that. All right. All that crap in the meeting, I couldn't believe it, wondering why we're getting the cameras. Yeah, them guys are fucking... Those people in the meeting were so... Remember, I'm a 2 million miles that did that stuff. You're as dumb as you get. Being on camera talking about you willingly drove on your wife's logs and it's making you a better... Basically, he's saying he was a dumb fuck to begin with. Not only a bad driver, but an idiot driving on his wife's logs too. Ugh. That's just stupid. Anyway, I'm done. I can't even say this shit. I don't even want to get into this. So yeah, that was about stupid. That's exactly the way I was feeling when I was in that meeting, because I was at the terminal in that meeting, and I'm listening to this shit like I almost felt like I was in the Twilight Zone when I heard that shit, because I was like, I cannot be hearing the shit, because I wasn't in. If you looked at that video, if you looked at the panel of drivers, I was back near the gym in those couches that sit there, so I really couldn't hear it. So I was almost like, I'm not hearing what I think I'm hearing. And then I heard all that stupid laughter, and I was like, okay, I did hear what I thought I heard, and they're actually laughing about it. It was like, you're gonna do some wild shit out here, right? It just is what it is. But when you're out there, like, in the middle of a meeting talking about that kind of shit, and that's not little shit, running on somebody else's logs willingly, especially when we spent the last 3 years talking about logs and all that, like, that's worse than misusing PC. And they laughed. They were acting like, oh, I'm done. I can't talk about it because no, I can't talk about it. Let me get out of here. I appreciate you guys stopping by No Hippie Truck and Transportation. As always, comment, subscribe. I'm out.